R.I.P. to Assata Shakur,
Yes.
passing away in Cuba. A lot of people weren't familiar with Assata Shakur because she's not somebody they discussed growing up in school.
Exactly.
I didn't know about her till Common dropped Like Water for Chocolate, and he had a song for Assata on there, and that's when I first heard about Assata Shakur from Common, and that's why he's still my favorite rapper of all time.
That's Tupac's.
Tupac's godmother, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so Assata Shakur was a black liberation activist who was given political asylum in Cuba after 1979 when she escaped from a U.S. prison where she had been serving a life sentence for allegedly a police officer.
State trooper.
So, yeah, basically the story of Assata Shakur, she was born Joanne Deborah Chesimard.
Late 1960s, she joined the Black Panther Party and worked on community programs, free breakfast for children, health clinics, political education. Now, she ended up leaving the Panthers after disagreement with leadership, but continued to organize and soon became affiliated with the Black Liberation Army. This was at the same moment that the Panthers were under surveillance by the FBI. Now, between 1971 and 1973, police arrested her several times, but most of those cases ended up in acquittals or just dismissed.
And she did pass away last Thursday in the capital city of Havana, and it said due to health conditions and advanced age, as confirmed by the Cuban's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So basically, the story of Assata goes, she was a member of the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. Her case had been kind of one of those things that had tension between the U.S. and Cuba. That's why when Obama got in, he allowed the embargo for Cuba because there was so much tension, and this was one of the reasons why. Basically, May 2nd, 1973, she and two others were pulled over by a New Jersey state trooper because their car had a broken taillight. From there, a gunfight ensued. One of the troopers was and another was wounded, and one of Assata Shakur's companions was also. She fled but was eventually apprehended. She was found guilty of the armed robbery and other crimes in 1977 and was sentenced to life in prison. She was charged with additional bank robberies and a non-fatal of two other police officers. However, most of these charges were dismissed or resulted in her acquittal. So they tried to pin a lot of charges on her for crimes that she apparently did not commit, and those charges were later dropped or dismissed.
She gave her people clinics, schools, free breakfasts, and she gave them courage. And that made her a target. On May 2nd, 1973, the state made its move. Her comrade Zayed Shakur was killed. A state trooper was killed, and Assata was left bleeding, paralyzed, both her arms in casts. But here's what they don't like to admit. She was both her hands in the air. A bullet tore through her shoulder, shattering her clavicle. Another ripped into her arm so badly that doctors had to operate just to keep her alive. She couldn't move her fingers, couldn't hold a weapon. She couldn't even lift herself off the ground. She was unarmed. She was incapacitated. And yet, police still beat her, handcuffed her to her hospital bed, and called her a before she even woke up.
And so basically what happened was they locked her up in prison in November 1979, and members of the Black Liberation Army posing as visitors stormed the Clinton Correctional Facility for Women, took two guards hostage, and commandeered a prison van to break her way out. And then she was off the map until 1984.
In a cell with two guards in front of the cell 24 hours a day, and a cell between two gun towers that could train their guns directly on the cell. I was told that I was in the Yardville unit for women, even though I was the only woman, and they tried to keep me there for the rest of my life.
They overpowered the guards in the van that was taking them there, or once they got to South
inside the
Hall?
building, apparently. Inside the building.
Those two guards were the ones who were taken hostage, so to speak, placed back in the van and driven across to the school.
And then she was off the map until 1984, where she emerged in Cuba, and Fidel Castro granted her asylum. And he offered her a safe harbor as an example of Cuba aligning itself with what is described as revolutionary forces struggling against oppressive a capitalist empire to the north. So basically her story was she was a member of the Black Liberation Army. They pulled her over. Something happened that resulted in gunfire. I'm pretty sure there was some antagonizing going on.
Of course.
They put all of it on her. All the charges were dropped, but they still arrested her for some of the things. And that's when she got freed and went to Cuba.
Maintained her innocence, arguing that she could not have fired a weapon because her arms were raised when she was shot twice, with one of those bullets shattering her clavicle. Medical testimony at her trial backed it up. Her supporters called her trial racially biased and politically motivated.
And then in Cuba, she wrote a lot of books and stuff like that. And basically that was her story, of course. The United States was not happy about all this, and they have been trying to extradite her since 1984, and they could never get her, so they're a little bit upset. Basically, her claim to fame, she wrote Assata, an autobiography published in 1988, where she was telling her side of the story, and her writings became a rallying cry during the Black Lives Matter movement. So that's her story. And as you see, there's a lot of details. I know people watching this that may not be familiar with her story. It may seem like she's a criminal. And I don't know all the details of everything. I haven't read her book.
She's a political...
but she is a political, yes, she is a political prisoner. There was a lot wrong with the case, and a lot of it is due to her association with the Black Panther Party and
Liberation.
The Black Liberation Party, correct.
I later joined the Black Panther Party, an organization that was targeted by the COINTELPRO program, a program that was set up by the Federal Bureau of Investigation to eliminate all political opposition to the U.S. government's policies, to destroy the Black liberation movement in the United States, to discredit activists, and to eliminate potential leaders. Under the COINTELPRO program, many political activists were harassed, imprisoned, or otherwise neutralized. As a result of being targeted by COINTELPRO, I, like many other young people, was faced with the threat of prison, underground, exile, or death.
Which back in those days, even now, they are deemed terrorists.
Yeah, they are deemed terrorist groups.
Which they're not, though.
Yeah, of course. I don't believe they're terrorist groups. They were just fighting for Black liberation, and they
Black power.
Yeah, they didn't
Protecting
follow the
black-
MLK civil rights nonviolent movement.
Protecting black people from police brutality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the story of Assata Shakur, Tupac's godmother. Of course, Public Enemy has referenced her. Rebel in the song "Rebel Without a Pause," and of course, as I mentioned earlier, Common basically told her story in a song for Assata in his "Like Water for Chocolate" album. That's a pretty damn good album. So y'all go ahead and check that out. You can pull it up on your streams. It ain't like back in the day where you had to join one of them CD clubs for 11 CDs for a penny, and you end up owing them hundreds.
You just go on YouTube.
Just go on YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify, whatever you got. Pull up Commons Like Water for Chocolate album and listen to a song for Assata, because he really does break down her story through the song. So it's pretty deep. So yeah, RIP to Assata Shakur, political prisoner.